If you're looking for a simple bag to make with easy directions, try our Vinyl and More bag, Tiny87. It's part of our line of Tiny Ones patterns by our pattern company called Peachtree Patterns. For this pattern, you need an outside fabric, an inside fabric, and something for the handles, either webbing or you can make your own. The outside fabrics can be made with vinyl, laminated fabrics, denim, canvas, pre-quilted fabric, old t-shirts or border prints, and regular cotton fabrics. You can pick anything you like. For the bag I'm making in this video, I have a canvas kind of fabric for the outside, a regular cotton print for the inside, and I'm going to use more of the canvas print to make my handles. Refer to the pattern for the fabric requirements, the cutting instructions, and the general instructions. Instead of using webbing for the handles for this bag, I'm going to make my own handles out of the same canvas fabric that is going to be the main body of the bag. I'm starting out with a piece of fabric that is 8 inches by the width of fabric. I'm going to fold the fabric in half, right sides out, and press it so I have a crease where that fold is. If you want the crease to be extra sharp, you can use a little bit of spray starch or Mary Ellen's Best Press spray. Once you have the crease all the way down the middle, then you're going to open that up and you're going to fold the outer edge into the middle and press on both sides. You don't want the edges to meet exactly in the middle. You want to see a little sliver of the back side of the fabric down the middle. And then you want to fold it one more time and press it flat so that you have 4 layers that you're pressing. Once all the creases are in place and you've ironed the whole thing, you want to open it back up so that you can put a piece of batting down the middle of it. The piece of batting that I'm using was about 4 inches wide and the same length as the fabric is. Fold the fabric across the top of the batting and press it into place. Fold it one more time until you have a piece that is about 2 inches wide. The next step is to sew the handle closed so that it won't open up. And I'm going to sew on the side where it's already open to close that up first. And you can see it's just really close to the edge. And then I'm going to sew on the other side so that both sides look the same. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to sew down the middle and maybe in between those 2 lines. So I have a total of 5 seams sewn onto the handle. You can use your open toe foot or a regular foot, but I think I'm going to switch to my walking foot for the last few lines. The walking foot is going to help keep all the layers going through the machine at the same time, and it won't make any ripples in the handle. Next, you're going to cut and attach the handles to the bag according to the directions on the pattern. Make sure you don't twist the handles when you sew them into place. After the handles are basted into place, you're going to start putting the bag together. And when you're putting the seams on the bag, I like to go over them once and I backstitch when I go over the handles. And then when I'm done going over the whole top of the bag, the first time, I will often go in and do it a second time just to make sure it's nice and sturdy and the handles won't pull out of the seam. You will be top stitching the top of the bag where the handles are before you are sewing the side seams. The sides of the bag are constructed using a French seam method, which means the seam will be totally enclosed and there won't be any raw edges showing. It feels a little bit wrong when you're sewing these seams for the sides at first because you have the right side facing out and all the seams, the edges are raw edges. But once you turn it wrong side out and sew some more seams, you will be enclosing this seam into the side of the bag. Once both sides are sewn, I usually like to go in and trim any little extra threads that are hanging off the side so that when you enclose them in the seam, they don't hang out on the edge of the bag. Now we have the wrong side out and we're sewing those seams over again. Once the side seams are sewn, you cut a square from each corner of the bag at the bottom. This is creating the gusset for the bottom of the bag. The bigger the square that you cut, the bigger the gusset. And then you just flatten out the bottom of the bag and line it up so that you could sew a seam and sew that gusset shut. Sometimes you really have to wiggle the fabric to make sure that that lays flat. You don't want to sew in any creases at the bottom of the bag. I usually sew this seam with a straight stitch first, and then I go back over it with a zigzag stitch, or if I had a serger, I would maybe use that. You could also bind this edge with like some spare bits of binding. That would give it a nice finished edge on the inside. And then when you're done with the seam, you can trim it down to 1/4 inch. Once you've closed off both sides of the gusset, turn the bag right side out and it's ready to roll. What's great about the padded handles on this bag is even if you load the bag with lots of stuff and put it over your arm and have to carry it a ways, it's not going to dig into your arm. The side seams are finished off nicely. There's no raw edges there. And at the bottom of the bag, where you can't even see it, is the only place where you'll have a raw edge. The bag is approximately 10 inches wide, about 11 inches tall, and about 6 inches deep. The bag was really designed to use an all-over print that didn't have a direction to it, but you can still use a pattern that has a direction to it. This one I'm going to use this fun canvas fabric that has this big typewriter, and it does have a direction to it. So if I sewed this the way I sewed the other one, all the typewriters would go sideways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it on the fold, and then I'm going to put the typewriters so that they kind of face out going each direction. Once I put the seam here in the middle and the typewriters kind of face each other, when I'm making the bag, the typewriters will all be going the correct direction. When I get done sewing the seam, I'm going to do a quick little finger press, and then I'm going to open this up and sew a little reinforcement seam so that I have the stitching on top of the direction that the seam is facing. It just kind of reinforces the bottom of the bag. I'm also putting longer handles on this one, so I had to make sure I was extra careful when I was sewing the handles on not to twist them and get them going a different direction. I love how this one turned out. I think it's really cute. I really wanted to make one using this retro roller skating fabric. Reminds me of my days at the roller rink when I was growing up. But this one too was directional, so I had to again cut it down the middle and then rotate it so that I was sewing the skates right side up for both sides of the bag. If you're enjoying watching our videos, make sure it helps out by hitting that like button. Make a comment, let us know what you think about our video, share with your quilting friends, and most importantly, subscribe to our channel so you can see all the fun projects that we're doing here at the Quilted Forest. On this bag, I decided to do something a little bit extra, and I'm going to use some heat and bond vinyl, which is an iron-on vinyl that is a way to transform any smooth fabric into a water-resistant fabric. The iron-on vinyl is durable, flexible, and sewable. You can use it to make beach bags, lunch bags, aprons, art smocks, placemats, coasters, and lots of other home deck kinds of projects. The instructions on how to use it were on the plastic that was wrapped around the bolt of the iron-on vinyl. So you take the vinyl and you remove it from the protective paper that it's attached to, and you're going to place the vinyl sticky side down on top of the material. Then you're going to place the protective paper that you just removed from the vinyl, and you're going to put that on top of the vinyl and use that to help protect the vinyl from melting as you're attaching it to the fabric. Once you're done ironing the vinyl into place on the right side of the fabric, you're going to flip the whole thing over and you're going to press it from the back for a few seconds just to make sure the entire surface has been heated through. And then you want to let all of it cool before you start sewing on it. Once it was cooled down, I sewed it into my bag, and I thought it turned out really fun. For this bag, I put a smaller gusset in the bottom so it's a little bit taller and not quite as deep. This is our go-to pattern when we need a simple bag. We like the gusset at the bottom and how deep that can be. It's great for grocery shopping or just carrying things back and forth from work and home. And we have two here that were made according to the pattern directions, and you can see the bottoms are similar size. This one too. These two are both made out of canvas. The first one had canvas on the inside and a regular cotton fabric on the outside. For these bags that had the directional prints where I had to put the seam at the bottom, you can barely see that seam. It's barely noticeable. And this one is the one where I made the gusset a little bit smaller so you can see the gusset isn't quite as deep as the others. And I put the nice long handles on that one with the typewriters so that I could have it be an over-the-shoulder bag versus just a bag that you carry. So there's all different ways that you can make this bag unique for you. We'll include a link below in the description so that you can find this pattern on our website. Remember to hit that like button, make a comment, share with your quilting friends, and most importantly, subscribe. We'd sure appreciate it. Thanks for watching and happy quilting!